This is the Out of Production podcast. The following conversation is with Tita Ugalde, PDGA number 83. This conversation was, well, I was a little nervous going into it. While I do know Tita and I've met her several times, I don't really know her, and I was excited to get to hear her story, and the story was better than I could have ever imagined. Going into this conversation, I was nervous and didn't quite know where it was going to go, but it went every direction and even ones that I did not even expect. Tita is a pioneer in the world of Frisbee sports, and still to this day, 50 years later, is representing disc golf around the world, promoting disc golf, promoting Frisbee sports, and is one of the nicest, most glass half full, pie in the sky people you will ever meet. An infectious smile and an incredible person. I don't think I'll ever be the same after this conversation. And the one thing she said at the very end is gratitude is so important, and it's one of the secrets to life, and I could not agree with her more. Enjoy this conversation. It certainly affected me in so many positive ways, and I hope it does the same for you. So without delay, my Frisbee friends, enjoy Tita Ugalde.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Tita. Can you hear us?
Yep.
Awesome.
Really well, thank you.
We hear you as well, and you look beautiful, and I love the background.
Oh, that's my husband's doing.
Wow. I'm going to kick it off right away in your background. That hand that has the disc in it, I'm going to brag a little bit. That comes out of Wisconsin. That is none other than Tom Holston, who has made some of the most beautiful disc golf art on the planet. He's done hot stamps. He made baskets. He does all sorts of sculptures and things. And that hand is hand bent and welded and everything else by Tom Holston out of Wisconsin. So I love seeing it. Little representation right away. Did you know Tom did it? Have you met Tom?
No, I didn't. We all got one when we played at the U.S. Open in, I think it was Fort Collins, Colorado. So I was in our player pack.
Really? Okay. I would have thought it would have came in the Madison, Wisconsin overall player pack when it was in Madison. No? Okay. Awesome. Nonetheless. Well, welcome to the show. Here I am already second guessing our memory, but welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. So many, obviously we've got a ton of questions for you, but we, along with the rest of the world, are here to learn and get updated and certainly educated as to what we need to know about some of the early days of disc golf, and then maybe equally as important, where you see things going here in the future. So if you don't mind, give the world your introduction, and let's start right at the beginning in terms of your introduction to Frisbee or disc golf or Frisbee sports, whatever it was.
Great. So, hi, my name is Tita Ugalde, PDGA number 83. I started playing Frisbee in 1972 with my family. My brothers played, my dad even played, my sister played. I guess the only person who didn't play was my mom. And we'd go to Griffith Park, had what we call love-ins, where it was just, in the 1972, it was all about peace, love, love in some areas, the war going on. And there would be circle of musicians, and on the perimeter were us just playing catch. And that's where one of my brothers met someone who knew that there was going to be the World Championships at the Rose Bowl, and we also heard about it on the radio. So we went to go see, but not the first year because that was 1974. And I was a kid. My brother wanted to be with his friends. They didn't take me. It wasn't until 1975 that I got to go to the Rose Bowl World Championships, living in Los Angeles. The Rose Bowl is in Pasadena, California, not too far away, but I got a ride. And I got to watch the best of the best right there down in the Rose Bowl. I got to see Dan Roddick, Irv Kell, Monica Liu, Joe Cahill. And Joe Cahill, for me, was the woman that I wanted to play like. She was so smooth, so beautiful, so graceful. And I looked at my brother and I said, do you think I'll ever play as well as she plays. And he says, no. So that was in August of 1975. In December of 1975, we had heard again through my brother's friends, the grapevine, that the Los Angeles Frisbee Club was going to start at Oak Grove. By this time, they had poles. Baskets weren't invented yet. So we were going to learn a new game. And when I got there, I had a Black Master, huge disc that when my brother Mario let me borrow. Jesse took us, but we needed two. So I had one that I had bought at the Rose Bowl because you had a choice. Have a Frisbee, get in for free, or buy a Frisbee for like $5. So I bought the little warped little promo. So I had two, and that's what I played with and learned the rules kind of. And I ended up playing in a sudden death. And that's when I really got to meet Stork, because he at that time was in charge of the IFA, the International Frisbee Association. And he's the one with the idea. Stork is a visionary. So he wanted to start a club, the Los Angeles Frisbee Club. So he's talking about sudden death, and I'm thinking, what is that? And he's a tall guy, and I'm like, yes. And so I won the sudden death playoff there. Right now it's hole 1, then it was hole 10. And you know how it is, your first win, you get so confident, you're hooked. And I just wanted to do everything. And it wasn't until 1976. By this time, Ed Hedrick, his sons are out there playing, and we'd say, oh, family day at Oak Grove, because I'd be playing with my brothers. And I signed up for the PDGA. My brothers didn't. And it was $10. And I'm thinking it might have been even a money order at that time. No checks, money order. And I got the number that I got. So I didn't know Ed well enough to choose my number like some of the players did. And so being a member of the PDGA in 1976, but at that time, Stork, again, the director of the IFA, was organizing the North American Series, where we would go to different tournaments and qualify to play in the World Championships. So it was all about all the disciplines. And along the way, DDC was added, double disc court, and discathon was added as well. And so that's what I really spent my time doing, is playing Frisbee.
Well, coincidentally, as of the recording at this time, we're in mid 2026. Your PDGA number is 83. You also have 83 wins, so it's great to hear about your very first one, possibly way back in the days.
Yeah.
A lot of times, people, even to this day, say, "Well, I'm not any good at throwing Frisbee. I'm not, I can't do it, or my family never did it." To hear you say that you did it as a family, clearly that is maybe what sparked some interest. But did you or anyone else around you feel like, oh, we're like extra good, we're better than the kids down the street, or we're better than that family over there? Was there ever that sense of competitiveness? Or when you're talking about playing Frisbee, is that just playing catch and unique ways of catching the disc and then throwing it back?
Yeah, very good question. So we like to play, we like to throw, we like to catch. Freestyle was you returned it the way you caught it. So you caught it behind your head. So now your overhand wrist flip. You didn't stop, wind up, and throw it like today. That's the way we played freestyle. Two of my brothers were exceptional at guts. And one of my brothers to this day loves freestyle, loves to airbrush. He just could airbrush all day long. And he's we call him closet jammer, as am I. And that's really my favorite. My favorite is freestyle. But I don't have the long arms, to do all of the twisto flex, the triple barrel guidance pulls. Watching the disc fly I was enamored of that. But competitively, first of all, I'm here from another country, second language learner. I'm in a sport where nobody looks like me. Nobody speaks Spanish. But I kept going. My brothers were not interested. They did ping pong and archery. They went on to be champion archers, and they would skin dive and surf and do all kinds of other, what I call eclectic sports. But I continued with Frisbee, and I didn't play baseball, and I wish I would have because I have no sidearm or hand, right? I still throw like that.
Yeah. Tita, I want to ask you about the Rose Bowl. We hear about the Rose Bowl and the event that was happening there. What was that really like, though? I mean, how many people were there? And obviously, I don't know about obviously, but we are disc golfers. Terry and I, that's how we got in. I've been a part of a few free ultimate tournaments and played ultimate and done some overalls and things. But break down that Rose Bowl event. I mean, especially from the eyes of a kid. What was that like for you, just in general overall?
Yeah, I'm going to say those were the days. So again, North American Series were the events you went to accumulate points. And they would start here in Southern California, why we had the best weather. Irvine, right. Santa Barbara, and it would go Texas, and it'd make its way to the East Coast. And then I think in July, you would get an invitation. And if you were on the East Coast, WAM-O had deep pockets at that time and would pay for your flight to Pasadena. I know. In 75, again, I was watching. I wasn't part of it. The first Rose Bowl for me was 76. And we stayed at Caltech, the dorms at Caltech. So we had room and board. But not only that, we'd have 2 uniforms where we'd have the T-shirt, the shorts, the socks, sometimes shoes. And we got to stay at Caltech, and we'd have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And a bus would pick us up, and it would take us to La Mirada to play. Those first years until 79 when we moved over to UC Irvine. And the finals were always in the Rose Bowl, not golf. It would be distance, freestyle. Ultimate would be a demonstration. But can you imagine, we'd get these collector's items of discs, like just for us. They just had a special run, and we'd have a Frisbee bag. All of this lovely equipment. And that was like the big prize. You get invited to the Rose Bowl, you're a Rose Bowl player. You get the uniforms, you get all of that. And then the staff from WAM-O was exceptional. They made sure that we'd had everything. But not only that, the night after, remember that was in the 70s, several people would stay up and they document the day, what happened. They break it down. So-and-so has so many points for distance and so-and-so has accuracy. So the next morning we'd wake up and we'd have somebody be on the mimeograph machine and we'd have copies of the newsletter. Plus there would be trivia on that. And it'd be special discs. And the trivia questions, or maybe the games would be, go find someone that came from another country, say hello. Okay, let me write it in. It was a way for you to connect with others. So here, we have Frisbee World magazine. We're reading about everybody, wherever they're from, and now we're all together. And we thought we were the best of the best. And how many people were there? I couldn't tell you. I'm going to guess 100 to 150 or something like that. But there were always just a lot of fun opportunities to come and meet, and it never stopped. Remember, everybody was young, and it never stopped. So in the hallways of the dorms, there would still be flapjack guts. Or people would be practicing their freestyle routine. And at that time, when you got points, though you had, say there was 10 in your division and you won first in that division, you get 10 points. But there were a couple of events where you needed a partner like DDC and freestyle. And sometimes maybe you would pair up with somebody who not necessarily would be your best friend, but that way you both got the same amount of points. But there was a lot of strategy. So there was still a lot of learning, and there were clubs popping up, and of course they would practice like the Los Angeles Frisbee Club would practice. Okay, this is going to matter because we're going to Santa Barbara. Let's all practice, and we get together. But those days of the Rose Bowl, how much fun was that? It was amazing because we were treated so special, and there was no money. There were lovely, lovely trophies because WAM-O, again, they had the art department, and we had Stork, who, again, I will always say is visionary. So, yeah, I love those days. Remember when?
Yeah, I mean, I can only imagine. And Nate and I, who have gone, our biggest, I think, similarity would be the World Championships, especially in our early years, which were late '90s, early 2000s, and and then the next decade or so, or 2 decades after that, of like that's the family reunion, so to speak. And to this day, I still talk about how special Worlds is, because that's the time then when everybody from literally all around the country and around the world would get together. So the fact that you guys were starting those early days of parties and camaraderie and friendship, everything else, and this was obviously way before your social medias and your, you're talking about, printing out a newsletter nightly, which is incredible. With all of that going on, so much excitement and hype and professionalism by WAM-O and organization by people like Stork and everyone else he was working with, were you ever sitting around with each other thinking, this is a life, this is a lifestyle, this is a career, this could make money, there is a path within Frisbee or Frisbee sports? Was that even a pipe dream or at all? Like, how were you guys? You were embracing the Frisbee culture, but were there additional thoughts to it?
Okay, so one more thing about the Rose Bowl.
Yep, yeah.
As much as you want.
Is what you're in the Rose Bowl, and there was a point where your name was up in lights scrolling. I mean, how
on the marquee, yeah,
right. And because I still was not naturalized, I was born in Mexico, I was representing Mexico. Mexico didn't know, but
but your name was on the board nonetheless.
For Mexico. And so adding another country, that was Stork's doing, because he's just, he's always thinking ahead.
Right.
Things changed when money came in play. And I'm going to say the dark days. But no, it was time to switch over. Some players said, don't fly us there. Don't give us room and board. Don't do all these extras. Put that money in a pot and then let us play for money. And then at that time, so now say you're going to freestyle. You have a partner. Well, you're way over on the side. You don't want anybody to see your routine. Mm-hmm. And then time goes by, decades go by, and some players never got to connect because money. And then later they're like, man, we should have talked before, but money got in the way. It was different. Now, how did we see it as a career? Some people, we had some professionals, teams like the Air Aces. They would do demonstrations. We did have the Sun Kiss tour. We had some of the players going to Sweden, to Germany, to Japan to do demonstrations because WAM-O had licensees there. So they would go and do all of these demos, but that was part-time. Now, did we see it as we could make money off of this? I bet some people did, or some players who are very, very good, they would target certain tournaments where they knew they could make money. They knew that they were going to win first place in distance or freestyle or something, so they would target those tournaments. But for, I guess, my friends, I was a weekend warrior. That we had a career. I knew very young that I wanted to be an elementary school teacher. That was my focus, and Frisbee was a lot of fun. And that was my balance. I really believe that I was a better educator because I was able to have playtime. Teaching, than playing. Yes, I think balance for everything is very important.
I actually think that's the most important lesson we've learned so far is balance in life and having something. It was an interesting thing for me personally when disc golf became a job. And I'll never forget that moment. I was very young still when that happened. And then fast forward 10, 12, 13 years later, and that's all I do. And my hobby, which was disc golf when I was a kid, that was gone. It was a job now, and it was all about winning and being the best. And that's how I found other hobbies, one of which became brewing beer. And then I went on to make that into a job. So I think I have a little problem there. That's more on me, where I turn my hobbies into jobs. But I think just having something that you get to do takes pressure off of the thing that you do for work. So I absolutely love that. You know, honestly, listening to the money come in, it reminds me a little bit, I'm a huge golf fan. It reminds me of traditional golf. You know, back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, all competitive ball golf was amateur. They never played for money like that. And the pros were the ones that did like these challenge matches. So they'd go around to different golf clubs around the country and put on exhibitions or play against the local best player or something like that. So eventually, once money comes in, you kind of lose that amateur vibe. And I don't know how I quite feel about that. Obviously, I was a pro, but I wanted to ask you something about Southern California and Frisbee. You know, we talked to Stork a few weeks ago. We talked to Sam Ferrens. We're going to talk to a lot of people that came out of the Southern California scene, just like you. What is it about Los Angeles, Southern California, that was so creative? Was it the proximity to WAM-O, the good weather? In your opinion, what do you think it was about LA that kind of
cultivated all of that?
Birthed this sport that we all love and the Frisbee culture?
Honestly, I really believe it was WAM-O. Because, again, WAM-O had deep pockets, and thanks to Ed Hedrick, thanks to Dan Roddick, thanks to other people, George Sappenfield, for example, Joe Cahill, where they were willing to try new things and have the Frisbee World magazine, and they were able to set up events for us and just casual events. Let's go meet here and play. And then later we had pods like in San Diego, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz. But really, if you think back, I mean, what are we celebrating this year? The anniversary of the PDGA, right?
50 years, right?
Yes. Where did that all begin? Disc golf began here at Oak Grove. Now Hahangmanga Watershed Park, but it was Oak Grove Park at that time. It was a county park. Now it's a city park, at Pasadena City Park. But this is where it started, from the poles to the baskets, and even the baskets they've been evolving a bit. But here's where it all was, and all of the money that was spent on advertising, all of the commercials, and we had commercials and we had radio. If this is happening, go over here and you can meet. The dogs are big too. And that's where the question we would always get, do you have a dog? Well, it's hard enough to train myself. And then now I have a dog. Yes. So I really believe it was also the culture, because there were surfboards and there were skimboards and there was hacky sack and hula hoops. And this is all because of WAM-O. So to take it that step, and you're on the beach, we have the beach. So yeah, I really believe that that happened. But I also think that there is, unfortunately, to this day, a cloud of you hippies. You have a disc in one hand and something else in the other hand, and you're out there just kind of tossing and not thinking that it's a professional sport. To some people, wonderfully, because of all of those, what do we call them? The ones that the people who go on YouTube and influencers, and they make all these how-to videos or fun videos. Now, I mean, even my doctor is, I live in Pasadena. I go to that park, my general practitioner. And so she knows. So when I tore my rotator cuff, my orthopedic surgeon, he plays disc golf at La Mirada. You know, how wonderful is that it is growing, I love that you can go and play in a group of people and you don't know their backgrounds. And then later you find out, oh my goodness, this person is in house. This person has a doctorate. This person is whatever, because it's like this. Or you could play with somebody that's 8 years old, somebody that's 80 years old, but you're still out there having fun. The purpose is to have fun.
Yeah, clearly inclusivity has been such a part of whether it's a hippie culture or a drug related culture and or recreational, professional, non-professional. Like everyone has a place here, no matter where or what your background is or your history is. You have a place somewhere within disc or disc sports. One thing here in 2026. You can say disc golf now. Let's just say you're in a mixed room of 100 people. Maybe 50 people will raise their hand, depending on maybe the state you're in. But 50 people will say, hey, I've heard of that. Rewind 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and I feel like 5 people would have said, I've heard of that. It was just, it just wasn't big then. Let's rewind to the 70s and the 80s. And if you said Frisbee or Frisbee golf, how many out of 100 knew what you were talking about? I mean, I guess I'm a long way to ask. What was like the Frisbee culture like in those late 70s and 80s? As a sport or as a recreation?
Again, because of WAM-O and because of WAM-O's advertising, we would go, Frisbee. They'd go, oh, okay. So you have
Sure.
some sort of sign language, and yeah, I know what that is.
So everybody knew.
Yes, because it was so big. I don't know how many Frisbees WAM-O sold at that time, but they sold a lot of Frisbees, and they were number one.
Yeah, there was always I regurgitated this for probably at least a decade, if not longer, and I don't know where I heard it, and even to this day, I don't know the truth of it. Now that I think about it, but I was always telling people that there were more Frisbees sold than like basketballs, baseballs, and footballs combined. I remember somebody told me that. For whatever reason, I regurgitated that for at least a decade. I'm guessing at one point it probably was true. Yeah. I don't know, when that stopped, but just thinking, if you're not of a certain age, you missed out on the height of, I think, the Frisbee culture. Yeah. And I don't know. I long for those days because now we have a million different activities, from rock climbing to geocaching to Pokemon cards and literally 100,000 other activities in between. But it felt like back then, Frisbee, everybody knew Frisbee, right? I mean, you had Bud Light teams traveling around, Crazy John and Sam Farron's, like you mentioned, going to Japan. Do you ever long for some of those days?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I like to travel. I'd like to meet other people. I love to make connections, and I will keep saying this. It blows my mind how a little piece of plastic connects the world.
Right.
Yes, I long for those days, and that's why I love that the Virginia State overall happens every year. By the way, next year it celebrates its 50th, and that's where everybody will come out. I think there'll be 6 events in 4 days. Nice. It will be a big deal. Again, no many, but again, we have known each other for decades because we still think about Frisbee, not just golf, not just EDC, but Frisbee.
Yeah. So maybe let's, if we could segue. I mean, you're a teenager. You're introduced to this sport. You're at things like the Rose Bowl. You're thinking, this is just a side fun, weekend hobby or something you do for recreation. How much were some of those other sports impactful to you? The guts, the DDCs, the freestyling. Like, how many of those things did you focus on? I know you said freestyling. You didn't feel like maybe you were had the God-given physique for it. But how many of those other disciplines or disciplines did you focus on and care about? And did you have a favorite? What was your favorite?
Favorite is freestyle.
Okay,
but I have a trophy in every event except for, I'll ask you to guess.
Well, I think, I mean, there's self-caught flight, there's TRC, there's one of my least favorite was discathon, but yeah, everybody had to do it.
Yeah. I mean, have you seen me? Have you met?
That's the least fun. I mean, you have to run the whole time through this crazy course with all these obstacles and mandos. Yeah, Discathon was,
And
only some people like that one.
storage. We've done it. I mean,
Right.
The marathons. I mean, DC. I mean, my goodness. And I remember my friend and I were going to Sweden for their overall tournament, and we practiced. We did fartleks. We were just running. We were doing all this training and get there, and I'm feeling really good because I got the little dink this way or that way, around the trees. And then I'm running the course, and I hear, Tita, you don't have to go under the just to go under, because there's strategy in that. There's a tree.
Right.
Tammy Pelican taught me, if there's a pine tree and you want to go from here to there, you throw it like an MTA throw, like a boomerang, and then you go behind the tree and you go get it. You don't run after it. And that's, again, the strategy, but that cuts off time. And then Discathon evolved where you have tests. You're running, you stop, and you had a choice. You could complete the test. It could be like a Y in the tree, and if you make it through, then you keep going. But if you don't, you have to continue. And so it's risk reward.
Right.
Either way,
they were like an optional mando. They're like a mando shortcut. If you hit it, you get to go that way, and if you don't, you got to take the long way or get a penalty of sorts. Yeah,
that's right. But because we were a nice group here, every Sunday there would be a meeting, maybe at the polo fields at Will Rogers, the Pacific Floaters. That was a group that would meet, or the Los Angeles Frisbee Club, or the Santa Barbara Condors. They got started with Ultimate when Los Angeles Frisbee Club played against the Condors. In all of the disciplines, Los Angeles Frisbee Club did really well in all of them, but lost Ultimate.
Oh, funny.
Okay.
Yeah. So we played everything, even if we weren't very good. It was the thing to do. We played all of the, we call them the advanced disciplines. Yes, we played all those. And eventually players started to specialize, and now freestylers, they're very endearing because they can't freestyle like they used to. Their bodies, they're changed, right? So now they're playing disc golf. And while playing disc golf, they're like, I wish I would have started earlier. But freestylers would get up late, and in the afternoon they'd start playing till sundown, and then they'd sleep the next day. Same thing. Golfers would get up early, play. And so when now the freestylers turned disc golfers, they're like, hey, this is pretty good. I wish I would have started this before. But yes, we all did everything. Now, do we wish that we could still play DDC? Yeah, we do. I play with Dan, with Mark and Susie Horn, myself. There's 4 of us. We can play DDC, but our bodies are like, anymore. We don't get horizontal.
What is, kind of digging into those things. And of course, I feel like anyone we speak to that's got that, those origins of Frisbee and Frisbee throwing and playing catch and just literally all the different disciplines you mentioned. Are we losing all of those? I'll say outside of like disc golf and freestyle, are we losing the throw, run, catch and the MTAs and or self-caught flight and Discathon? Are we losing? Because it feels like there's only a handful of people that are still doing them. It feels like the torch is slowly dimming or being blown out. Do you feel that way? And if so, what do we need to do to infuse some of that energy and keep some of these really cool games going?
Sadly, I do believe that in the United States, we have lost the overall events. And I think it's because of 2 things. I think it's because, maybe it could be 3 things. Money, it would surprise.
Right.
What's in it for me? I will always say this about disc golf now, actually, or freestyle, DDC. Education. You have to teach others. And who wants to teach others? Who wants to put the time into teaching others? Again, what do they get out of it? The second thing is communicating. How do we communicate? That DDC is just so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then you need the discs, you need the courts, you need the space, you need 4 players. But man, you're in there like, somebody tell the pickleball world to forget pickleball and play DDC. It's just that
Right.
more fun. And again, that's advertising and communicating. So, but I will tell you that other countries like Sweden it still has it going on. They still have overall tournaments, and they still have DDC. Again, we have the A players and the killer bees. And if the A players were to play more and teach with the killer bees, we'd have DDC wouldn't be dying. I really think that all those, but it's one of those, does everybody waltz these days?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, what a great analogy. Because I was blessed that, I found disc golf as a kid in 92, 93-ish time frame. And 1995 in Wisconsin, we had our state overalls, and it was still thriving in 95. Tim Mackey and a bunch of guys came over from Minnesota. And then we had our, organizers, Brad Wendt and so many others, Duster, Don Hoffman, all of them here in Wisconsin. And we played in the bowl in Sheboygan where Barry Schultz grew up. And that was my first introduction. And I played all the activities. I loved them all. I found out what guts is, and 10 minutes later, I'm on the line, taking a Frisbee to the face. And for many years, I did all of those and enjoyed it. And even though I still can't freestyle, it was, hey, let's go out. I need a partner. We need to get some points because some points is better than 0 points, right? So you would do those things. And they just continue to slowly fade and die out. And I feel bad watching that happen because it feels like it's such a generational thing. But for all the reasons you said, it's on us to keep things going one way or another. Yeah. Well, when moving then, finding this, having this experience, then you want to go on to become a teacher. What was college life and or post high school life? What was that like when you're balancing career goals, real career goals, very admirable ones at that are helping our world be better, doing that, and then Frisbee activities? Is that still just a weekend thing? Are you looking forward to the weekend for that because that's your break from teaching? Kind of walk us through those formative, early years of your career and your balance.
Okay, so I'm in high school and come back after the summer. And of course, I had expository composition. What did you do this summer? I played in the World Championships at the Rose Bowl. Mm-hmm. So my teacher was like, wow, were you at Burger Continental? I was. Was there a ballet dancer there? There was. That's my wife.
Wow. Yeah, small world.
Yeah. So then he and I, because it wasn't recess, it was nutrition, we would go to the girls' baseball diamond and we would play. We just play catch. And he was also the editor for the yearbook. So I graduated in 1977. He wrote in the yearbook. So there's my face, my photo, and it says Tita Ugalde, Frisbee champion. Now this is in 1977. Yeah. And recently I saw him because he is still around and he's maintaining some of the paths at Mount Wilson Trails. So he's active, yeah. But we went back to that. So there I am, and in 1977, and there's tournaments. There was a tournament in Boulder where one of my brothers drove to, and I flew there, and my parents were all about, yeah, here's an opportunity. We came to this country so that you could have these opportunities. So while we're having that high school panorama picture, I'm in Colorado, so a couple of my friends are holding up a Frisbee in my place.
You're represented.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Appropriately still represented. Okay.
I'd be called, hey, Frisbee, people would say, And so I went on to college, and I'm going to say it, affirmative action. I was able to go to college, and then later on, grad school, I was gifted a fellowship at USC so that I could pursue a degree in elementary science education. Now, I knew that that's where I was going. And so Frisbee Fridays, and I'd have a basket in the classroom and have the Nerf. I still have the Nerf because I just don't want to give them up yet. They're so good. They fly so well. So I would do that. But I got to tell you, it took me several years, not 4 years, not 6 years, maybe even 7 to 8 years to finish college. Why? Because Cal State LA had, they didn't have that semester series. They had the 10 weeks quarter system. So
Okay.
I would go fall and winter, and then I wouldn't go spring and summer because I was playing Frisbee.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And my parents were like, well, okay. I was a teacher assistant, and they said, okay, because they knew it was good for me to be out and exploring the world. And so they're like, it's okay. You could stay here and, living at home while you're still pursuing that. And so it wasn't until later it took me that long to finish. But once I was a teacher, I was serious. I was in the classroom. Like you said, my activism was always in the classroom and making the world a better place. It was trying to help myself and others be the best versions of themselves. I just thought that's the best way I could be an activist without protesting or getting into, all that. I just thought, well, what's the best we can do? Was it, and I started gardens in 5 schools where I was because of the, again, science background. There was a whole lot of science a lot of fun in science, I'm going to say, a lot of fun in science. So yeah, so that was my balance. And I knew that I get to play disc golf because at this time I had stopped playing overalls. There weren't that many overall tournaments, and now it's Frisbee. And by this time, I'm sponsored by Innova, and Innova has been my only sponsor. And
wow.
Yeah. Because again, here I am, Southern California, and it was Dave Dunapace who said to me one evening we were doing the Southern California versus Northern California challenge, and he said to me and my friend Beth Vera, she said, I could coach you. And I thought he was talking to her, and he said later, no, I was talking to you. And we'd meet at La Mirada, like at dawn. He even bought me a beanie. He says 80% of your body heat keeps from your head and your feet and your hands keep warm. And he would teach me the X step, and he taught me. And then in 2000 is when I won. I did play in the World Championships, but by that time it was protected age division.
The Masters.
Yeah. You won Worlds in 2000.
Yes.
Over there in Michigan. And
it was because it was 35, and I didn't go to Worlds because I had a choice of, do I want to spend a week playing all Frisbee, or do I want to spend a week traveling by myself playing disc golf, when it was 2 rounds a day for 4 days, and then semifinals, and then finals. That was a lot. It was. So I would play the overall, and I was never the way up there. I never played with Elaine King, for example, and she's smashing it. Never played with, in fact, I haven't met some of the women that are leaders now. I just didn't play with them because I was over here playing, we're all having a good time, and knowing that I'm not a big arm. Even to this day, it's I think I'm playing the best that I have ever played because I'm learning the discs more. And then what does Innova do? They say, okay, here's the Mirage, fall in love with the Mirage. Here's the Rolo. Okay, out with the Mirage. Now it's the Rolo. Okay, out with the Rolo. Now it's the Fox. I'm like, you guys are making me crazy. When I came from a time when there was one disc.
Yeah.
119, that was all I played with, a 119. When Tim Selinsky worked at WAM-O. This is a really great part of WAM-O. WAM-O had their whole warehouses on one side of the parking lot, and then there was this little house. They called it the IFA house, International Frisbee Association house. That turned a house into the offices. Stork had the master bedroom as his office. There was a kitchen, shower, everything, and then there were these. There was one room that was storage for the T-shirts, the magazines, and then there were these different desks that different people sat in. But across the parking lot, Tim Selensky worked at WAM-O, and it was like a barn door. So you opened up the top, and WAM-O came up with this policy: if you broke a disc, you could get it replaced. And then Frisbees were like $2 each. So we'd stock up on Frisbees, and they tried the HDX. That's the one that you should never be able to break. And we tried, and we would mess with him. We turned it in, he'd give us another one, because what were they going to do? Break it down and make more?
Right.
Yeah. So so one disc for everything for golf for me. It was my putter, it was my driver, it was my approach, and the hyzer was so easy because he had to throw hyzer. Now throwing and hyzer, it's like, oh my gosh, what disc will do that?
I have a funny story. You were talking about the HDX and trying to break them. The first time I ever saw Champion was in La Mirada. Sam Ferrens and Dave had grabbed me, Steve Rico, a few others. Okay, come over here, and we're in the parking lot, throwing them as hard as we can into the curb at the parking lot in La Mirada. And Dave's like, you can't break them. They're impenetrable. And so I kind of have that funny story too, just with Dave and with Sammy. But I did want to ask you a little bit, and I know, Terry, you had something, but I wanted to just take a small step back, because my youth, I was fortunate to be able to be connected with Steady Ed. DGA was in Santa Cruz, and my dad worked for DGA, and Steady Ed was my very first sponsor. And I know you had some interaction with Steady Ed being in Oak Grove and stuff. And being that we're in the 50th year of this, I was just wondering if you could just say a little something about your interactions with Ed, kind of how Ed influenced you and that Southern California scene in the early days.
Ed Hedrick did not directly influence me. I knew who he was. I know that he worked at WAM-O. I knew that he was developing the basket. And those days, from going for the pole to if you've seen the original baskets at 10 chains, people were putting vertically because we had big discs at that time to get through there. So, it's like, well, maybe it's this way. It was the craziest thing to watch him observe, what are people doing? So I did not have that much interaction with him, other than it's hi, hello. And I did see him at that in Michigan. I think it was in Minnesota after that. And we would have conversations about how it's grown. Wow. We were at Oak Grove, and now look at what's happening here. But never did I ever have dinner with him. No. Did I ever spend a lot of time with him? No. But I knew he was a businessman and an inventor.
Can I ask the same question about Dan Stork-Roddick? Did you have much interaction with Dan, and did he influence you at all?
Well, that first playoff, to meet him, just watch him win freestyle, the Rose Bowl. And then a few minutes later, now he's the organizer of the Los Angeles Frisbee Club. He's like really tall, and he has a presence about him. So now fast forward 50 years, and we played this morning, and now it's talk, and it's really great, because I will say to him, when we met, I was finding my voice. It was about my parents would say, we're in this country, we're here as guests, we're residents, we need to be respectful. So I was always very respectful. I didn't speak a lot, and so then Stork said, yeah, now we can't shut you up. I mean, so he still is a great influence, because we bounce ideas off of each other. And now, again, at this age, we're the same age. So he has had a whole lot of influence on how I think about things, whether it's being on a committee or starting an event or leading something in this area with ladies, where I'll say, hey, I'm thinking about this. And he'll always say, well, you know me, I'll give you, I'm all about giving people more work to do because of his ideas. He'll get these ideas. But it's also Dave Dunapace made me think in different ways. Really, really big influence. And then, I will say that I'm the luckiest female disc golfer because I just played with Dave on Sunday. I get to play with Stork during the week. Not many women can do that. But I was, again, I'm able to still learn from both of them. And Stark and I keep learning from each other. We send each other videos and did I drop my elbow? Did I do? Because again, we're still trying to figure out the days of throwing over, 300 feet, going to La Mirada and saying, man, I used to park this hole. Time's gone on. And for all of us at this age, and now what do we say? Oh, another round above ground. So those are to me the biggest influencers that I will always thank. It would be Stork and it would be Dave, and I will always say thank you to Steady Ed because of his of saying yes to George Sappenfield. Yes, you could set up a Frisbee golf course in Brookside Park in 1969, so you can use the hula hoops and the what did they have at that time? They were pros. So that people could learn about disc golf. And then he caught on, hey, this could be a thing. So, yeah.
Well, I guess along those lines, and we're going to, of course, I want to dig into, what you're doing now to continue to foster and promote the women's game. We'll certainly get to that. But even back then, you had the one disc or the one Frisbee, because that's really all that was made. You were there for some of these technological advancements, the beveled edge coming along and all of these things. Innova, obviously Discraft coming onto the scene, and then it wasn't, until much later we saw a number of other companies. But what can you share about just the evolution of the Frisbee and what it meant to you, and that first time maybe you threw the bevel-edged eagle or the arrow or whatever you threw, describe some of those moments from what you recall.
So with the different disciplines, you need different Frisbees. DDC it started with a 119. Now it's 10, right? MTA or TRC. Even within that, you could have a fastback or the looks like an alien, right? That shape, the flat.
Yep.
Yeah. Even within that, if you're a runner, you want the faster one. If you're not, you the one that comes back. Right. Even within that freestyle. Look at how it went from WAM-O to now Discraft, and now it's. I think there's another company. I forgot which is the new company that's making the freestyle disc. But disc golf, to go from a 119 and then the 119 to try the little arrow. And then I mentioned to somebody, man, I'm throwing so far. Tita, everybody is.
Yeah. Yeah. Not one person had that advantage, so to speak. Everybody. I mean, Sam Farron's clearly figured a few things out to be able to throw it ultimately farther than most. But yeah, when you guys were all getting that new technology, how exciting. I mean, was there a point where you literally would double your distance? And be like, okay, I can throw this 75 yards and now I'm throwing 150 yards or something like that?
Yeah, I think my longest recorded distance is 112 meters, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
That's great.
15 years ago. But anyway, we went from a hyzer, severe hyzer, not just a hyzer, severe hyzer, where it's vertical, to now, okay, now I have to turn the knob or start the car, or now I have to do this so that I could flex it or get a beat up or understable disc and then just put it on hyzer and let it, but then it's touchy, right? Or for distance, you have to, and I see this oftentimes, like USDGC, they go way up and then let it come down. And you have to have some power for that. So to watch what discs are used also, and the weight is always so critical. I'm a proponent of newbies playing with a mid-range and something lighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then get to know that disc, whatever it is. It's a 5, 4, 5, 6, 7 speed. Okay, that's it. Don't go anything higher until you're able to master that with Heiser and Anheuser. And it's going to hurt, but it's okay. It's going to pay off in the end. So that evolution, plus there were other companies like Lightning was a company that had these other ridges. Okay, let's try Lightning. And I never tried Discraft because why? None of it was here.
Right.
And WAM-O was still trying to make its comeback. And so all of WAM-O's discs were available. So between those two companies, what we were throwing. But my bag was never huge. It maybe had 3 molds in it, the putter and something else, really. But to watch the development and then the plastic. And to this day, I'll say, if you're going to buy a disc, buy 2 or 3 of them, because if you fall in love, you'll have the backup because the plastic changes, the runs are different. And if you don't like them, trade them. But then that way, if you don't, you're not upset when you lose it or something happens because you have backup.
Right. It has, it's been fun to watch. And then I always get a kick out of when people want to reference old discs. They'll say something, oh yeah, that's a DX disc from 98. And it's like, no, that was the only disc, right? There wasn't, until we get into Pro Plastic from Innova, and then they got into Champion Plastic and all these and they eventually Star or whatever, all these, it's like, no, that was the one disc you had. And it was probably $7 or $8. And for a whole decade, everybody was buying essentially one grade of plastic, and it was maybe $6, maybe $7, $8, eventually $9. But by the time it was $9, we were also then offered other variations to it. When you're a professional teacher and that's your career, are you infusing or trying to infuse or make mention or nudge the physical education teacher? Hey, like where's your disc sports, not chapter, unit, those types of things. Are you actively trying to also kind of push disc golf and disc sports there too, or at the schools?
Yes, I would have my disc, and it would be fastbacks, by the way, because fastbacks or the 110, because for the little hands, right? Or the Nerf discs, and I would say they're available. Or let's trade. You take my students, and I'll take your students. But really, what you want to do is be the teacher of teachers, and try to be the person who has workshops for the teachers so that you teach them how to fish, right?
Right.
How to throw, so then they could throw. But what was number one? Safety first.
Right.
And the alligator catch. And you got to watch the other person. If they're not looking at you, you can't throw. So nobody was injured on my watch, but it was, again, Frisbee Fridays. I'd say, okay, it's Frisbee Fridays. And then I'd be driving to school, and I'd see the kids with their Frisbee in their hand. And one time there were 5 years where I ran Jam Camp. And Jam Camp was how to teach kids how to freestyle. And I selected a park very close to my school. And I would pay some of the professional freestylers to come and teach. And we'd be at weekend at the park, and we'd have these skills clinics for the kids. And this is in East Los Angeles, which is an underprivileged area, the underserved, and giving all the kids a free FPA membership. And again, they would have 2 Frisbees, the one we'd play catch with, or they would throw, and the other one that was a little bigger that they would freestyle with, and to watch them holding mom's hand, and then in the other hand, just walking up the little hill, swinging the Frisbee in their hand. It was just like, yeah, I don't know if they kept playing, but I do know that at that moment, I got, for Christmas, I would always give everybody a Frisbee and a whiz ring. So, because those are easy to play with indoors.
Like many other sports, there's usually an underrepresentation on the women's side And disc golf specifically, I feel like, not as much on ultimate, although it's there, but more so disc golf. And we've always talked about anywhere from like a 5 to a 7 to maybe a 9% participation ratio. 7 was a very common number for decades. 7% of disc golfers were women, 93% disc golfers were men, at least from the PDGA's perspective. And we're always looking to somehow, level those out or just increase participation. What was the culture in terms of women in disc sports, any of the disciplines? What was that culture, and what were the good and the bad things about getting more and more women involved in any capacity?
From the beginning?
Yeah, early on. I'd have to think, I'm just guessing, I'd have to think things were a little more even back in those days, a little bit more women representation, or am I just being hopeful?
I think there are a lot of women throwing, but not a lot of women competing. To compete,
Okay.
you need to put time into it. You have to organize, but certainly you go to the beach and everybody's playing. You go to the park, everybody's playing catch. But when it came to certain disciplines, now you are specializing, and that's where it was different.
Is that because do we find a fall off in that participation, in that specializing, because of the time commitment, and women are often tasked with doing other things that then the men kind of culturally seem to I don't want to say dismiss, but culturally adapt to, versus a more traditional women's role, where it's like, okay, the husband and the wife, one of them gets the Saturday to do what they want, and it seems like the husband maybe chooses what they want more often, and the wife has kid duty, so to speak. I mean, is that where we're talking, or educate me?
Well, I don't have children, and I'm wondering if I don't know. I'm making assumptions that women have more on their plates when it comes to having the family, keeping the family together, the house, and then if they have a career, it would just blow my mind. You're an educator, you go home to you leave somebody else's kids, you go home to your kids, but then we didn't have social media in the beginning. It was word of mouth, and it was radio, and it was commercials, or it was snail mail. And even though we had Frisbee World Magazine, not everybody got Frisbee World Magazine. It was just a small group, a very small group. And yes, and like me, my brothers played, so I played. There was a lot of couples, or whether they were married or not married, but there were a lot of women that played because their partner played. And so I don't know why back then being in the 70s, maybe even in the 80s, why more women didn't play, because now we're getting to communicate more. And today, I really believe that, we have here in Southern California, we have so many options. You want to go to the mountains? You want to go to the beach? You want to ride a bike? You want to do this? You have so many options. And so I think that we're competing against other activities. And again, what do they get out of it, really? Even if you get swag, the AMs get swag. Like sometimes I want to go back to be an AM. But the thing is, I was never an AM because it was women and men. And then later we're just a professional because we earned money, was right. There was no, it was later that the divisions came in. So today, again, I'll keep going back to saying education, communication, and somebody needs to be the one who goes out there and teaches, and there's a commitment in teaching. And when the pros go to these events and they do these skills clinics, it's just really great, because then before the event, then whoever's there, oh yeah, they taught me how to do this, and now there's they have a connection there. And when we make connections, we're more bound to participate. But if you just go watch and then, you leave it, that I don't think there's so much follow-up. And today we have the opportunity to keep making the connections.
Yeah, I could not agree with that more. In fact, even from when I was younger, I wouldn't say like really young, but 15, 16, 17, everybody in high school knew that I was this disc golf person. And they would kind of make fun of me, but then I would teach some of the guys, right? And in Santa Cruz, which is where I grew up, a lot of the guys that would come up to De La they were the wastoids. I mean, I will just be honest here. They were the ones that were looking to go, smoke a bowl at De La Viega. But then they'd see me there, which I didn't do any of that stuff. And I'd show them how to play. And they're like, dude, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden, they're coming day after day after day. And yeah, they might be still smoking a bowl, but they're still going to be playing. And I just, from a very young age, I knew we had to teach more people, and we certainly had to teach kids. Now, I was 20 years old. I became a world champion. I knew right away I had to start helping out teaching kids. I am not a good teacher. But I do everything that I can to tell people my story and all that stuff. And I know that you, Terry, were similar in the sense that you were giving discs to your friends when you first found the sport too. So I find disc golfers to be some of the most generous people that you can find. If you see a kid in a park, here, take a disc, take one of my discs. Just go and play. And I love that about it. I love that about Frisbee because it is something you can hand to somebody and they can just get it right away. It's not, you can't hand somebody a basketball and say, here, go play basketball. You need a hoop. You need stuff. And disc golf, let's just throw at that tree over there. Or Frisbee, let's just play catch. Let's play catch and have a conversation. So I don't know. I'm absolutely in love with just teaching it and passing it on to people.
One of the things that, along this thread of this conversation is the fact that we're seeing more women become involved. We're seeing, of course, top women athletes and professionals, and we're seeing more women at the amateur ranks. So just through and through, participation continues to grow. What do you feel like has been some of the more successful ways, whether it's personally or with groups and clubs you've worked with, or a tournament or a league or whatever? What are some of the ways that you feel like, hey, we found success here, and you are encouraging others to go duplicate that or to go replicate it in other places so that we can grow more of the women's game?
It's not until very recently that I really took on more of a leadership role in teaching and in mentoring because, well, I have more time to do that now. And something that has been really successful is women's only events. And to offer all of the divisions from, the J8s to the FA80s, just come on out, and to have events that are sustainable. That you're going to have a meetup once a week or the weekly to come, and somebody will be there that you can play with. When you have something that is consistent, then people already know that they can come and show up, and hopefully they will become players. Recently, I've been challenging the ladies in my area because I would hear a lot of complaints. Tita, the TD, we have these long holes, and then everybody complains because the women come in, they take so long. So I said, well, would you like me to talk to the tournament director, or would you like to talk to the tournament director? No, you talk to them. And I'll say, and I would say, in the interest of time, if a couple of the tee pads were changed so that the women who can't throw over 200 feet can maybe start there so that it moves along. In the interest of time, you have tee times, and I will say that tournament directors don't know what they don't know. And if they set up a tournament because they have a big arm, well, they could do that. However, if they don't realize that not everybody throws as far as they do, then it's counterproductive if you want to grow the sport. If you want to run a tournament, that's something different. If you want to grow the sport, then you meet players where they are. And that's where I say to the ladies, we're not victims. And B, if you see that somebody is running a tournament, you don't want to run a tournament, that's okay. If you see somebody's running a tournament, the moment you see that, go to them, offer them help. I could help you. What would it take? Can I set up some optional tee pads? What can I do to help? Can I be a spotter? Or instead of complaining, what can we do? What can we do to be proactive? And that's been helping a lot because now they're empowered. Now they're running events. We did the Innova replay, and a couple of the ladies said, well, one of them said, we should do this at Oak Grove. And I said, does this mean that you'd like to do it? And she backed off. And another player said, I'll do it she says, well, if somebody would help me, and somebody else stepped up, said, I'll do it, which is great because, yes, I realize that I'm a leader. I didn't ask for it. We just, and so it's a leader helps others to find what they can do. And so if it is working with somebody else because that's the easiest, let's do that. So I find that that's been successful and then turns out that if you present what you're going to do to a club and you let them know, hey, we'd like to have this event at the course where the club is, we like your support. Maybe we'd like support. Maybe could we offer a membership? What could we do so that, again, you're working together and it's not us against them. It's all of us. How do we grow the club? How do we grow the women's community? And it's been slow, but it's taking off in having women's only events. And then now the boards or the club leaders are saying, hey, what could I do to help? And then they show up. And hey, can I spot for you? What do you need? Would you be a marshal? And now they get to be part of it. And hey, your lunch is free after we have a potluck because women have the best potlucks, it seems. And you have good food. Who's not going to come out for good food? My point is that your community is so varied that you don't need to feel alone. All you need to do is tell the universe what you want, because if you don't tell the universe what you want, you're not going to get it. So if you need help, ask for help. And this complaining or I'm going to say it again, being a victim, that's not necessary. When, like you were saying, Nate, they're generous. There's so many generous people. How many people make big donations of discs to clubs? And now you have all these discs. Well, what are you going to do with them? Do you want to do outreach? Do you want to run? Do you want to, bring two, take one? There's just so many things. And it takes somebody who is not somebody's. It takes a group of people that, you can go to and draw from their ideas and brainstorm together so that we can grow the disc golf community. So that's what I think.
Along those lines, and I think those are all great parts. I think events like the Women's Global, which happened recently, and then just women's only events that have been gaining momentum over the last decade, I think continue to be warmer and more welcoming, and players are embracing that. With all of that being said, is there a magic, dare I say, number or representation of women within disc sports that you feel like should be a goal? Do you think we'll ever get to an even split? Do we need to worry about what that number is? If it's a 50-50 split, or if it's 60-40 or 70-30? I mean, again, we're at 7 to 10% representation now. Do you get hung up on any of those types of numbers?
I don't. And since I'm at the end of my career, I guess, if I were like an FPO right now, I'd be thinking about the future. I'd be thinking about, do we want to get to split the MPO from the FPO? But now we need to find sponsors if we really want to get money just for the FPOs. I'd be thinking in those terms, but I'm not. I'm thinking of terms of, this is the way I think. I love this game. I think it's great for your mind. I think it's great to be out and you're getting, the vitamin D, you're getting the endorphins, you're being socializing. Women are very social. And you're out there and you're in nature and you're discovering so many things and all the challenges where you're like, this is interesting. I've never been here before. You get all these benefits for being outdoors. And so now I'm thinking that if for me, when I teach a newbie or somebody who's intermediate player, my goal is to teach them or help their game improve so they're enjoying it more. Like, oh, if you just did this would happen. And so then, oh my gosh, it's so easy. You mean if I just, there you go. Oh, here, try this lighter disc. Or, hey, if your hip points that way, or how about, whatever it is. So that's what my goal is. And you asked, like, what am I doing now? Do you want me to go there?
Yeah. Let's get into it because, as you're saying, I think there's so much importance of where we were, and then the things that you're part of, leading, and spearheading. Let's hear it.
So James Koizumi, you familiar with James Koizumi?
No.
Oh my goodness. Remember this name, James Koizumi. James Koizumi has worked with the Paul Macbeth Foundation, has gone to many, many countries, has helped to install these courses, has been an ambassador on his own. He's gone to, frankly, because he likes to play disc golf and he loves to travel. He's an attorney. He lives in Canada, in Calgary, and he loves disc golf. And he is where they are. It's one group that oversees lots of courses. It's not like one course. Anyway, they think in different ways. And he said to me, Tita, there is an event in Mexico. He says, weren't you born in Mexico? I was. He says, I bet you're the first Mexican champion. I'm like, I didn't think about that. Anyway, through James, I went to Mexico and I did play a tournament. I was only one in my division, but the amount of people that knew who I was kind of astounding. And then I speak Spanish, so I was able to have several workshops, clinics with women in four different places. And then we took, between James and I, we must have taken 400 discs. And we had a letter from the Mexican Federation saying that we were invited to lead some clinics for disc golfers. We're trying to bring the sport to Mexico. So we had a letter in case we got stopped at customs, and most of them were used. So now we have all these discs, just donations that kept flooding both of us in Canada and here. I just got all these discs and a suitcase and a half just of discs to take them over and then to leave them there and then to get invited back. And then Colombia, in Colombia, there was a project where they wanted to have like 6 clinics, and I'm on the diversity and outreach committee. And we thought it was if you narrowed it down, you could have 2 or 3 places instead of your membership money going to pay for somebody to go to fly to these places. Have boots on the ground, and then that's where it was going to be sustainable. I said, but hey, when is it happening? I might be available. So now I'm going to Colombia and take 2 other people with me. And as a result of that, there's going to be more going on in Colombia, again, speaking Spanish. And now one of the women that I took, Tammy Palicane, she's going to Peru in June to lead some clinics. I wasn't able to go this one, but maybe in the future, Ecuador. So being able to speak Spanish, again, 22 countries speak Spanish. That's one thing. And another thing is to be able to take discs and to just share the love of disc golf if they are interested. And that means going into schools where students are already doing some sort of sport and the school is interested, because you can't just go in there. Are you interested? Because we're offering this for free. So as long as I'll pay for transportation, but if you have a place for me to stay, and if you could drive me around, I'm in. So that's what I'm recently doing. And I'm asking, Tammy and I travel really well together. And if there's anybody else that wants to come, because together, Tammy speaks Spanish also, we can really put on some nice clinics and take some things that Throw Pink donates, PDGA donates, my Oak Grove Disc Golf Club donates, plus all the other donations, and be able to leave them there. And then my hope that is, if they have a club, that they would link up their club with my club. And I would love to call it the Links program. We're linking clubs. I really believe the future is clubs.
And I feel like, in speaking to our current PDGA International Director, Craig, recently, that is definitely a focus of his. I know the PDGA as well, Michael Downs and some others, really leaning into the club atmosphere, because I'm sure you already know, Tita, but going to so many of these other countries, clubs are kind of the representation of any organized sport, right? When you go to a Norway, they're like, and you go to a specific town, it's like, oh, their club is kind of the official point of reference that you go to, right? And you show up, whether it's Norway or Sweden or Finland, like, there's so much pride in these clubs. And yeah, we have clubs all over the country in disc golf, but we also have these factions, and then these people that break off, and then there's always egos, and then, who's really the biggest or the best club or the most organized club. It seems like it could be a debate. But when you're going to these countries and you have that point of reference with somebody who's very representative of what's going on there, I just think it makes so much more sense. And the progress and the headway gets made so much quicker, which is awesome to see. And talk about the fact that you check these boxes of being an educator, of speaking Spanish, of representing disc golf, but also women's disc sports. Like, I can't think of a better ambassador. I guess my question is, do you, is there any one entity that you specifically align with? I know we mentioned the Macbeth Foundation. I think of PDGA and Marco Polo stuff. Like, is there any limit? Are you working with anyone and everyone? Do you need to start your own? What's the plan?
I thought of making minis, having, free lessons, buy me lunch.
Right.
because I'm fortunate that my time is flexible. And my goal is to help somebody enjoy the game more. So if it's meeting them nearby to play, I'm open to that. Somebody else, a female in our area, she started her own little, it's little now, it's going to be growing. Her organization or event is, again, to teach others, and she's doing a lot of research, and she has a logo, and so I'm at the point where I'm support. Just invite me. I'm backup. Because it's very important to me that other women say, okay, I'm ready now.
Right.
And if I could help, I'm there. Like I said, invite me. I could pay for transportation, and I can go, and I could be part of it if that's what you would need or you would like. But what's important is that it's sustainable, so that it's not a flash in the pan, because those don't always work, because you have an idea. It's to meet everybody where they are. And sometimes it means going to brick and mortar places. It goes maybe YMCA, YWCA, maybe goes into schools or a women's fitness center or something like that. It depends what you want in the area. But something else you left out is my hair color. Older women identify with me. I am not, I think I'm more approachable that way. My skin color, like, at first I was always thinking, how come I'm not on the cover of Frisbee World magazine? Oh, because I'm not tall and thin and blonde, And so I I've figured it out. People, relate to Frisbee with somebody that looks like they're on the beach. And so these days it's like, I will be asked, well, Tita, where are you from? Like, they try to figure me out. And I said, well, I was born in Mexico. I grew up in Los Angeles. However, I am a citizen of the universe. So that way I would like all the doors to be open and I could respectfully walk through. And if you need my help, I am available to help you, because I don't know how long my window is of, to help. And my mantra is, I don't know how many heartbeats I have left, so I'm going to do exactly what I would like to do. So at home, if Stuart calls me, for example, and he says, hey, think about going to the Grove? Sure. Half an hour, can meet you there. Stop what I'm doing. And I'll say to my husband, Stuart called, go. Because I get to play with him. I get to play with the other players. Every time I'm out playing with my friends, how lucky am I to still be able to play? This is year 51 for me in disc golf. So once I got to year 50, I'm like, yeah, I made it to year 50. Am I throwing over, 112 meters? I am not. Am I still playing? I am. And you asked me, Terry, I think we were in Emporia. You said, what's it going to take? You haven't won. I don't know how many years, decades have gone by. I said, yeah, to be 50 years younger.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you have so much history and so much stories, though, it's funny how, as we're all getting older, we start thinking about, woulda, coulda, shoulda, but clearly you're making the most of it. I think, as you've kind of tiptoed around it, not intentionally necessarily, but the more than one reference, you have a husband. Mm-hmm. But doesn't sound like he plays nearly as regularly, if at all. What I mean, that's I don't want to call that unicorn status as well, but that I feel like is relatively rare to have. We don't have a lot of women playing, but the women that do play almost always, it feels like almost always have, a significant other that also is out there playing. And if you could, whatever you care to share, enlighten us as to how that works.
So, this is my second husband. I have what we call
okay.
I had to practice one.
Yeah.
Who didn't want me to play. Did not.
Okay. Well, that's why he was a practice.
Yes.
The practice strokes don't count,
I'd
right?
get rid of that guy. Get rid of that guy anyway.
Okay, job complete there. Yep.
Yes, but he was an incredible athlete himself. However, John is I say that he is smart. He's really brilliant, because when I go off maybe 3 weeks at a time to go play and then, or maybe go to USDGC where I don't play because it's throw pink also, just to be there. I come home and I'm just so excited. And then this happened and that happened. And he's very intelligent because he knows that it fills my soul. And Frisbee was a big part of my life before I met him. And so then he knows the best thing he could do is be supportive. And he will say, I don't play because whatever he does really well. And if he plays, he probably will play better than I will play. And he, for some reason, thinks my ego can't handle it.
Wow. That sounds like the ultimate cop-out for him.
Yeah. He's a trained, he went to MIT, so his degree is in aeronautics and astronomics. So he's yeah. He's smart. I like smart people. What can I say?
Smart guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. So he is glued to his computer and he writes code, and his skin does not see the light of day. Mm-hmm. So if I take Max, he's going to burn. Or his stomach's going to be upset. And one time, 2 years ago, we went to Las Vegas Challenge. I said, come with me. Okay. Caddy, okay. There's a hedge. And he says, hun, because he does watch disc golf sometimes when we're watching the pro tour and and he says, I think you need to take out your roller now. I said, you're so sweet. Watch this. And I did an upside down backhand, old school, because I didn't this. So I did upside backhand. and it lands like right next to the basket. He says, or you could do that. So, so it works really, really, really well because the support is amazing, and he knows that it fills my soul. It's growing the sport, and that I do have the ability to help others, and I have the ability to still play. Not at my peak, but I'm another round above ground, still playing. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Tita. First of all, I gotta say, I've been just sitting back and listening. I'm completely, for lack of a better term, just in awe of everything that you've done. I would only be so lucky to have achieved as much as you have. I mean, one of the things in my life that I remember more than the successes is some of the times that I've been sort of beaten back, or like some of the lower moments. I'm assuming you've had a couple of those. What were some of those moments for you that maybe helped you sort of push through and you get past those, and then things get a little bit easier on the other side? I'm so curious of that, because I really feel like great people, which you are one of them, by the way, have had those moments, and those are real learning moments. Just curious.
What now today when I play, man, I'm fortunate to be out there playing. I'm fortunate that there's a sponsor that believes in me. And you know what, like if I don't play really well, call David, I'm so sorry I disappointed you. And he'll always say, you never disappoint me. So it's good to have that feeling. And if I play really well, and my team manager, Joe Rotan, calls in, he says, wow, you did that's a really great feeling. Back to the classroom, I would tell my students, because it's disappointing. You play a game because you want to win. And when they wouldn't win and they'd be sad, and I said, well, we don't always win, but our win is to be able to play, and they wouldn't get it. And okay. So then I would have to go to the story where I'm driving to a tournament, and it was Southern California. And so far I had won every tournament. And now I'm like, man, the doubts come in, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, my father still loved me. Yes. Well, my mother still loved me. Yes. Well, so-and-so still loved me. But the really important question is, will I still love myself? Even whatever happens, will I still love myself? Yeah. Okay, good. I'm good. So I think about that, but it wasn't always like that. Remember Jo Cahill, she was the woman who I wanted to play like, and she will always be the Frisbee queen, the ambassador. She's just amazing woman. May she rest in peace. And we were playing, it was 1978, and I tore up Lamrad. I'm 6 strokes ahead. I'm like, this is great. Now we have to go back to Caltech, and we're playing on the campus at Caltech, and we had lots of OBs. Caltech has a lot of roses and plants, and I just couldn't get myself out of OB. And Jo I used to wear barrettes in my hair and braids, and she got one of the flowers that probably broke and put it in my hair. She goes, that'll keep you out of OB. Well, I just, how does it go? It's hard to putt when you have both hands wrapped around your neck. So I was so sad and disappointed that I didn't keep my lead. I probably went to the very end. I don't know where I ended up. I haven't looked. But I went to my parents. My parents ran a mobile gas station. And that was brilliant of them, because we all worked there, and we all had to work with the public, and we knew where everything was coming from. So we all worked there. So I went, my mother, even her pretty pink nail polish, it was full service, she's cleaning windshields and putting in gas. Anyway, they always had a motorhome. So we had a meeting. What's wrong? They were so upset. What's wrong? Oh, I told them about it. My mom was like, is that all? And my father, that's it? So I'm like, well, what do you mean? They're saying, if not winning is going to make you this upset for something that you love to do, we are not going to support you anymore. We're not going to help you out. They went down the list. I'm like, so I had to snap out of it. really fast.
Wow.
Because they're right. And I will
Right.
say today, if my biggest problem is that I went OB, or if I missed that critical putt, or if whatever I did, if that's the worst that happened to me, I have an amazing life.
Yeah, it's all wrapped up in I think just the overarching sentiment of perspective, right? Like how blessed are we all? You know, you think about the daily, whether it's daily or weekly or yearly trials or tribulations that you go through, and then at the end of the day, we're throwing frisbees or talking frisbees or watching frisbees. We're all part of the Frisbee family and the overall Frisbee community. We're all very blessed. And Frisbee, as I always like to say, the F word, Frisbee is what ultimately has the three of us meeting, not just, virtually through these little data packets running all around the planet and around the world, but also how we've all met and spent time together in person. And you're right. I think it's that perspective of thinking like, how crazy is this, that it's a Frisbee that's done all of this for all of our lives and our careers and our happiness and our joy. It's absolutely wild to think about it that way. Is there, and with all that being said, I can't imagine you live in any world of serious regret. But is there any fork in the road that you thought, well, what if it went that way? Or maybe I could have done that. And it could be for good, better or worse. Is there any time where there was like a fork in the road or a big decision that you think, good, bad, or indifferent, but one that maybe you've lamented on at a time or two? In terms of your career life, I mean, could be Frisbee career, could be your actual, your professional career, your life. Is there any of those?
Yes, I wish that if I could go back in time, the poison is when you compare yourself, because you only have yourself, and I
Right.
call it mystery golf. You never know.
Right.
So when you take that poison, like I have to throw as far as the other person, I have to do this like the other person, that is a fallacy. So it's playing within myself, but that fork is rewind to really practice with intention. Like now, like I said, now I'm learning my discs more because I'm doing field work. I didn't do field before. I'm putting the cones out. And as I'm teaching, because if you're not learning while you're teaching, you're not really teaching. So I'm putting out the cones 25 feet, every 250 feet. Okay, let's do hyzer. Let's do back. Let's do a sidearm. Let's do Anheuser. And the other ladies are, well, how do I do this? Well, now I wish I would, if I could go back in time, and this is freestyle too, to go back and go over and over and over some of the skills that are the holes in my game, so that I could feel, okay, I'm confident. Like putting, I'm so confident. In my mind, watch this, I got this. Because even if I don't make the putt, I'm in the hunt. I'll hit the basket. I'm right there. I will never have a return putt that I can't make. So, but where does that come from? Practice, confidence, those. But it's certain skills that are still missing since I don't have the sidearm. What can I do? What can I do to make up for that? So yeah, that fork in the road is, had I practiced more, I probably would have more than 83 wins. Yes, but those wins are, they're for that moment. And I will keep saying, disc golf does not define me. And I don't think it defines, in my opinion, it shouldn't be, it shouldn't define anybody. It's what impact are you making with your presence on that course? So it's me and the course. And how do I break it down? And what am I going to do? Oh, so now I'm here. Okay, this is interesting. Not good, not bad. It's interesting because I'm not good. I'm not bad. I am. So my perspective has changed a lot since, oh my gosh, I have to win because I had that first win when I was 16. So now, you want to win, but also this had not developed yet. So that now I'm like, okay, it's already a win to be out there. It's already a win to be able to go to another country, to meet other people, to try something new. Okay, now I need a new disc because Innova came out with a new disc. Okay, let's see. But that fork in the road is that practice, so that I could be more confident in myself, in my game.
Well, I don't want to hear any BS from anyone ever again that talks about their practice or regimen or routine. To hear you setting up cones at 25, 50 feet at different increments, doing field work after 51 years of play, and you're still out there doing field work, even if you feel like maybe you should have done some more earlier. But either way, you're doing field work after 51 years. I don't want to ever hear someone else with their, like I said, their BS excuses about not going out and doing field work, because as you just said, you're proof of being able to continuously learn and improve and hone in on those skills.
I mean, she look, Tita is a WAM-O level advertisement for a lifetime of disc golf. I mean, let's be serious.
Yeah. That's true.
I mean, personally, I love field work nowadays more than even playing the tournament. Because in the field, I still feel really, really good. Then I play a tournament. I'm like, oh boy, I'm not as good as I thought. But no, the longevity of our game of just letting the Frisbee fly is just so special. But go on, Ter. Sorry, bud.
Well, I was just going to say, I'm going to kind of lean into that just a little bit in terms of the longevity of our game. We don't talk a lot of necessarily like present day results and things of that nature. That's not really the concept of this particular show. But I do want to go back to there's so many, but one very specific historic moment that I will never forget, and it's very recent, but I know in 50 years I'll still be talking about it. And that was not only just having the World Championships in Finland, but then having Owen Scoggins and Ida Lehtomäki, the youngest player in the field at 15, the oldest competitor, the most mature competitor in the field in her 40s, going into a head-to-head sudden death playoff to win the Women's World Championships. And I'm getting goosebumps just repeating
me too,
that.
Dude.
I would to be there. I don't care if I was in the crowd or on the mic. It doesn't matter. I was there and witnessed that. Just from your perspective, do you, thinking of those moments, thinking of what that turned out to be, with Owen, of course, going on to win it, but is there anything that comes to mind when I mention that scenario? Where were you, and how do you feel about that scenario?
I was in Colombia. I was in Bogota.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
After running a couple of clinics, and I was on the phone with Fernanda Anton, who was in Guadalajara, Mexico, and it was like 3 a.m. and we're on the phone. Oh my gosh! And we're both just so excited. But I felt like connected to Ida. Because I was like that young girl, and I felt like Owen was like Joe Cahill. And either way, it was going to be okay. Either way, whatever way it went. Now, the fact that Owen won, and then she also had the other title that year,
Masters Worlds already, yeah.
And that was really huge. And then I think of Ida, and she has so much to look forward to. Either way, it was great. It was just wonderful the way they both were together. I love the way they were together, because Owen was treating Ida as an equal, not as a little girl, and the same. They were both mutually respectful of each other, and a mutual admirations club. And that was really lovely to see from far away. I wish I could have seen all of that. It was so emotional. I mean, me and Fernanda were like, oh, that was so great. Well, let's watch it again. And it was, it was what, 3 a.m. for us.
Did you ever interact with Owen? I know Owen's an Oak Grove player, right? She started in Oak Grove, or she still plays there, I think.
So all the local clubs want to own.
Okay. Right, claimer.
Yeah.
But it was the local Oak Grove club that actually threw a party for Owen to celebrate her victory. There was a big banner, and there was food, and T-shirts were made. the T-shirt said "Destroy All Day," and Owen brought a lot of her grip bags, and she brought discs, and she brought cards, and she was giving away cards, and she was selling her items at an incredible. I mean, she was selling everything for a song because she knew that this community really, really supports her and loves her very much. Now, because she is she's such an elite player, when Owen is practicing, she's left alone. She's out there, at the putting, or whatever she's doing, and everybody backs off because it's when Owen is at places, people paw at her. They want her time, they want her signature, they want her support, they want everything from her. But when she's here, we're not like that. We're like, hey, really great to see you, and let her go on to do what she has to do so that she could continue to be the best that she is.
Yeah, I not only the age difference and the representation there, I think of the country representation, to have someone from Finland, to have Owen, who was born in Laos, and and everything you've been talking about in terms of spreading disc golf literally around the world to all these other communities and all these other countries, and then to see that representation playing out there as well. And of course, we've been blessed with some incredible Norwegian and Finnish players, and obviously Kristen, and now some newer players coming out of Latvia and all over, really truly all over. But it was such a storybook ending. It was of epic proportions over there, and to have this international event, which we've been so excited to see Worlds played on an international stage, and then to be treated to that. I mean, props to that, the MPO guy that went on to win, Gannon, good job and all. But the story, I feel like that story of that Worlds was so much more on that FPO side, and I'm so excited to see where it plays out.
So
is there any dare I say wish? I don't want to call it bucket list, I guess. Is there any pie in the sky that could be reality? Wishes to come true in the, I don't want to just say even in FPO, but in the women's game. What do you feel like, whether it's some kind of a benchmark or an arrival or a firmer placement, whatever it is there anything that's kind of like, man, I really want to see this happen sometime soon? Is there anything that comes to mind, if I frame it that way?
Like besides world peace?
Yes. Well, I guess I was going to narrow you down to, yes, world peace I'm all about. I was going to narrow you down to women's disc golf. In the context of women's disc golf, is there anything for you that's like, wow, this would feel like maybe a major hurdle you've the women's side has overcome, or a barrier that's been broken down, whatever the case might be? That's the context I was thinking.
Personally, I don't know if you feel this way, Nate. World Disc Golf Hall of Fame, world champion. I mean, I have achieved all the goals. There's nothing to lose. It's all icing from now on. But in addition, when I watch content, when somebody puts a video on YouTube or Instagram or something like that, I wish that instead of watching somebody just drive or just what are they throwing and why are they throwing it that way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's happening? Because I see a lot of driving, and that's great. But is there wind? Or, what? Hold that disc up, say what the numbers are, the speed, whatever, and say, why are you throwing this? Well, in this case, I'm going to do a hyzer because, and then watch this. I want more information because, again, what do I keep saying? Back to education and communication, so that others will say, oh, no wonder.
Okay.
What I see is the newer players, they have these beautiful discs, but they're like throwing a brick. They don't realize that they may not be ready for them, their arm speed. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have the arm speed, but if the the series discs would come out in reasonable weights. Get more of them out there. And like I'll say, oh yeah, I wish I could do this. Oh, but it's just too heavy for me because I'm the 130 club player. Yeah. So to see more of that out there, I'd like to have more access to those discs in drivers as well as your mid ranges, so that it's so much easier to teach. You have more tools available. What I'd like to see, I would like to see more of when you know that there's an event going on. You already know, especially with majors. You have 2 years to plan. Target some of the schools, give them free tickets, have them, and then do some clinics with them. Have some of the pros show up, and then there's a connection, so that they, oh my gosh, so and so was there, and now that's another way of growing the sport. Or go into the schools and reach out that way. I wish that would be in a player's contract. Now, I'm not saying, like you said, Nate, that not that you're an excellent teacher, but you want to teach. There's teaching at different levels. And being there and demonstrating is teaching. Or
teaching by example.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Because I also would like to know what other industries are attached to disc golf. It's not just winning. Like this. Well, what about the bags? What about the towels? What about the sacks? What about the different plastics, the apparel, the shoes? There are other careers that are associated with disc golf. So when we're asking the juniors, like for their future, which, by the way, I think going with juniors is an amazing idea. I also have an opinion about juniors are growing, and a backhand is a violent throw. I really believe that juniors need to conserve their bodies a little bit more, because otherwise they're going to have that elbow thing going on. And how do you develop your body while you are developing? I wish there was more information about how our bodies, what body parts need to be strengthened more, so that we could continue playing. So it's not all about winning and winning a big prize. There's more. If you are competitive, we're all competitive. We sign up. We want to be there. But what more is there? What more do we want to tell the world? And there are rules for a reason. And nobody wants to call the foot fault. Nobody wants to call this. Well, then why do we have rules? And buck up and say, this is what I saw. And so let's all be aware of this, so that that in addition to swearing, swear all you want in here. Because we're constantly after sponsors, right? We want sponsors. We want sponsors to come in and be represented. And if you're out there not showing the best version of yourself, I don't think sponsors are going to be as excited, or they're going to want to participate. So it happens everywhere. To be professionals, we need to behave like professionals, and that's everywhere from what we wear to what we say, how we interact with everybody. But that's personal. That's how I feel about representing disc golf. And there is some pressure, representing a brand. And yes, I represent Throw Pink, Elk Grove Disc Golf Club. And of course, but first and foremost, it's myself. How do I represent myself to the world, so that so I'm approachable, and other people will say, yeah, hey, how do you do this? Or how does that go? Or they could ask me questions. That's the big thing. But, what are my wishes? Teach more, educate the kids about their bodies, be professionals, and in short, be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, I will say I agree with everything you said. The biggest thing I connect with is my biggest wish, I guess I should say, is I hope that we can get to a point where disc golfers, competitive or not, respect themselves, their playing competitors, and the sport more than wanting to win. There's only going to be one winner. You have to respect the game. If you break a rule, take it. Yes, I'll take the stroke. Yep, I did that. Instead of this sort of, I've just seen it my whole career. And I always say with golf, in golf, there's this fear of breaking the rules, because breaking the rules is worse than getting caught breaking the rules is the worst possible thing. And that's really what I would dream, that we would just all hold each other so accountable in a respectful way. Tita, you mentioned the Hall of Fame. You're wearing the shirt right now. You represent the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame. Congratulations, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not in there. My wife is, and because I'm only 41 years old, so I have 4 more years till I'm eligible. I always say. But thank you for thinking that. I wanted to ask you. You just said you're 51 years in disc golf, even longer in Frisbee. What was that moment like in 2016? Finding out that you were inducted into the Hall of Fame, and in your opinion, what does being a member of the Hall of Fame mean?
Well, even today, when I vote for the new inductees, that I think that when I vote for those who I think should be new inductees, I'm voting for somebody that I am so proud to stand next to, because they represent everything good about disc golf. That there is nothing on anybody's mind to say, so-and-so got, how did so-and-so get in? And that that's not only competitively, their contributions, what have they done? I always look like, what have they done to grow disc golf, not be divisive? So yeah, I look for that, and others, and I'm hoping that that's what they look for when the membership voted for me, that I was somebody that helped to grow disc golf, and that I am an ambassador for disc golf.
Yeah, I do you remember the induction ceremony, like your speech and all that?
I do, and in that I thanked 3 people. I thanked my brother Mario, who let me borrow his Black Master that first tournament in 1975, and he also introduced Frisbee to our family. My brother Mario has since passed away, but when I played, think about Mario. And Stork, for being such a visionary. I never had to write the letters to WAM-O or to represent women at events where there was no division, no trophy, forget money, because Stork was always taking care of the women, always making sure that there was a place for the women's division. And Dave Dunapace, who to this day continues to coach me. So yes, I remember that. And that year was the year that my mother passed away, and I was in Mexico because the family really wanted to see myself and my siblings. And we were there, and I remember writing out what I was going to say. And my brother Jesse was saying, "Tita, what are you doing?" And I told him, he goes, "Oh, our parents would be very proud."
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I don't know your parents, but I 100% know that they were proud. And I always, I don't know what it was in my mind or my heart or soul, whatever it might be. I always found my way to the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. To me, there's just something about the Hall of Fame. I know you can win some and lose some, but it is how you act at the end of the day. But that moment, I always wanted to hear the speech, because it's like this culmination. How do you thank potentially thousands of people for supporting you, for being there, giving you a high five, saying, keep it up, keep your head up, keep going. And ultimately have to pare that down to, say, 3 people with Mario, Stork, and Dave. This last year, Sharon, my mother-in-law, had her speech, and her son, who had his speech at the beginning of the ceremony, and Sharon shut it down. I was crying, and Sharon just did an unbelievable job. And I've known Sharon for a long time. I don't know how she got it out so well, because sometimes we'll just cry in the living room hanging out with Luca. But, it's, I don't know, what a moment for you, and congratulations on being in the Hall of Fame. And I think, just as a fellow disc golfer, I'm very proud to see you in there. So congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Something else, as an educator, I had the ability to say to my, when I would have parent conferences, I would be working in places where my students maybe were born here or not born here, and their parents were usually not born here. And so then I'm speaking to them, and I would say, I wasn't born here either. And my parents also brought me here. And they'd say to their kids, see, your teacher was able to get through college. Or I can use that as a really, really good example. And again, the opportunities, this country, and I'm going to speak for Own. I think she'll appreciate it. We, just by living here, we already won. Living in this country, you have so many opportunities that it's just up to you to decide, well, what way do we want to go? Mm-hmm. And, disc golf in the overall scheme of things, where does it fit? Is it the most important? It could be most important at that time. That's okay. That is okay. And, but is it forever? Well, nothing is forever. What's wonderful is to be able to, like you say, admire those others that are doing these great things. And when I play, I'm that person that nices the disc. Like, oh my God, that's so amazing. Boink. Oh my God, you did just as gorgeous. Oh, this is lovely. And then I'm like, okay, Tita, just be quiet. Just wait till it's done. Because of the flight of the disc, you see it. It's going all that, and I'm already celebrating, and then I have to, just rewind. Like, okay, when we get to majors, these ladies are serious. There's hardly any talking, and it's really difficult for me when I'm out there on the course like today, and we're just trash talking, and it's a whole lot of fun. Oh, you don't think I'm going to make it? Watch this, It's different. It's so fun. It's just so fun. And I wish that, it's always fun, but it's not always fun for everybody. I'm surprised how some people play, yet they beat up their bags or the poor basket. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Somehow, again, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, your perspective. Yeah. And whether it's because you're taking something else in your life isn't going right, or you're taking this either too serious or whatever the case might be, to kind of like that saying about a bad day of golf is better than a good day at work, right? Something along those lines. Just not having it all together. I love everything that you just said about the opportunities, everything that we've done here. Obviously, disc golf, is for now still, the epicenter of all things disc golf here in the U.S. Finland's charging, others are charging, yes, especially per capita. I've had the pleasure and the honor of being on a couple now Paul Macbeth related adventures. The first course put in Uruguay. I then got to stop at in Guatemala for the first ever Macbeth Foundation project down there. I got to see that on my way back. And I've been to Mexico for a couple of tournaments now. All of that to ask you, what are you seeing let's keep it to the Mexico, some roots for you. What are you seeing in the Mexico disc golf scene, or is there something that excites you in particular, or whether it's people or organizations, their drive, determination, any of those things? Give us a timestamp of Mexico disc golf here in 2026.
There's more and more A tiers.
Right.
What I'm suggesting when they have an A tier, say Cocoyoc, you're going, right?
Yep. Yeah, I've been to a couple of them. Yep.
Yeah, and it's a great place. And I'm thinking, you know what would be attractive? I mean, you're flying into Mexico City. Have a side trip to the pyramids. So I would get it, on that tour.
Right.
So I would say take advantage of the culture that you have to offer so that you could introduce the world to what it is to be in Mexico or that area, because Mexico is so varied. The food's varied, the terrain is varied, and it's not just disc golf. Take the opportunity to get that in. And I'm not saying necessarily museums, somebody likes museums, but to offer more so that you make more connections there. It's not just, okay, I was there and I was gone and I didn't see anything.
Okay. Yeah. Do you feel like that's just not even limited to Mexico, that's got to be an overarching thought or goal maybe for anyone that's traveling for disc golf? The amount of people, I say it all the time, if it weren't for Kristen, most disc golfers would have no idea where Estonia is. And I'm one of them. I had no idea where Estonia was in the world, 5 or 8 years ago. But thanks to someone like Kristen and now the Estonian disc golf scene, I'm pretty confident I can actually find it on a map. But Tallinn, is a great example of being in that old town. And then just all the communities in Finland, Norway, Sweden that have been really popping off lately in the last decade or so. Those culturally enriching experiences, Japan Open.
Yeah, I think about Shimbo. What Shimbo was able to do for the people that come to his event, show them the Japanese culture. Continue, Terry.
Yeah, I was just thinking like that. I guess I'm just echoing what you were saying, specifically to Mexico, but we can apply that to every disc golf trip, literally everywhere. Go take in the community, the culture, whatever that means to you, whether that's the food or the topography or geography or plant, animal, whatever, anything and everything in between. It's a way to definitely culturally enrich ourselves. I'd never left the country prior to disc golf, and I've never been, to this day, I've never left the country for anything but disc golf. And I think I've been to 22 countries. So very, very blessed for those reasons. We got to take advantage of them. Where's the number one spot, other than a move off of Mexico, number one spot that people should be going for a disc golf and cultural experience? Is that, do you say Mexico City or elsewhere, Tita?
So my husband and I are total solar eclipse chasers.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has to be, the eclipse has to be more than 2 minutes.
Okay. Yep.
It has to be places where we would like to visit. And this year it's off the coast of Gibraltar, I think.
Okay.
Next year it's going to be off the coast of Spain. So same area, it's just longer. Mm-hmm. But in 2028, it's going to be in Australia and New Zealand. And I'm like, wow, how come nobody's putting together some big event in all of these places? You see the total solar eclipse and you get to play disc golf. Like when we were in Austin for the U.S. Women's, and right after that, there was a total solar eclipse, and I was cruising
Arkansas.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Right.
So, there's also these events. In 2035, it's going to be in Japan.
You're 9 years out on us. All right.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. I love it. No, I love it. You're clearly a planner, way more than Nate and I combined. You know where it's going to be in 9 years.
If you experience a total solar eclipse, you could see how it just moves you. There's nothing like it. And disc golf on top of that, can it get any better?
No, I mean, that's exactly what, as you were just talking about, Kristen and Silver and a ton of disc golfers were in Arkansas at Persimmon Ridge for, that time frame when that eclipse rolled through there. And it was like one of the best places in the country to be. And it was right there in a disc golf, mecca or a disc golf hotbed. So you're definitely onto something there. I mean, we're gonna have to compare calendars, so I know where to be going.
The solar eclipse in 2017, I think, that happened in the U.S. I happened to be in. Val and I were driving on tour to some event from Oregon, and actually, Oregon had a very long totality. In fact, in Madras, Oregon, which was one of the longest in the country, but the longest in the U.S. was actually in central Nebraska. So Val and I put in some extra hours. We got to central Nebraska, and on the side of the interstate at a rest area, we saw like 2 minutes, 45 seconds of full totality. It was unbelievable. It was the most unbelievable thing. And I could see why you like it. I mean, that's pretty cool. I only expect to see one in my life, but if I could see more, I'd love to play a tournament during that time. That'd be pretty sweet.
See what I mean? Just I'm not a organizer in that way. I'd rather like it already happen. People as a perk, as a side, and as an addition, as you just add on. Because I'm just thinking we have these great opportunities to go to a place like New Zealand. So right now, my credit card, I'm accruing miles so I can go business class. Right?
There you go.
Yeah. And then it'll be Australia, hopefully the Great Barrier Reef. I'd love to snorkel. And then New Zealand, so that I could experience all of the disc golf in that area. The southern part I hear is really, really beautiful. And so back to the Worlds in Finland, I was trying to plan a trip with the Great Panthers here. If we would go watch the Worlds and then go to the Åland Islands. I hear it's nice. And then go to Sweden for their World Championships. It was only 3 weeks, right? But nobody wanted to go. I get it. But I thought, here's an opportunity to do blink, 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 and then say, okay. And I don't know how many courses I've played because you just came later and it wasn't, I never counted the courses. I just know that, wow, there's so many other places that I still want to go play. And that experience being in Japan, and you're right, Kozo Shimbo, man, he puts on an event and you feel like you are probably like an Olympic athlete where they just roll it out and everything is just so professional and so lovely and wonderful. And that's just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, Nate's been there. I've been there for a few of them. Blessed, and I'm excited to see those continue to develop. And they're already doing it and selling it as a cultural experience. We just happen to be there throwing some frisbees. But while you're there, make sure that you take in the culture. And I'm learning that personally from the entire Southeast Asia experience of all the events and things that I've been, as the unofficial new travel guide to Asia disc golf. I keep saying you're coming there to play some disc golf, but then also take in all of the culture in all these countries. Tita, we're going to start to wind it down. One of my final questions is hardly a question. It's more of an opportunity of anything that we missed. I mean, I know we covered a lot of different topics and we kind of even bounced around all over the place on some of those. It wasn't necessarily chronological, but we love to give it kind of an open-ended floor to whether it's an initiative or a project or a misconception or like literally anything that's like, hey, you didn't ask me about this, but here's something I still have to share or would like to elaborate. Is there anything of that nature?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, then. Let's hear it.
I mean, these have been really great questions. Some of them I had to think about. Some of them I had to get ready answers because they're just so fresh. But Oak Grove's Golden Jubilee.
Oh, yes. We touched on 50 years, but we glossed over that too quickly. So please share all about that.
You know how a major has 2 years to prepare? Mm-hmm. Well, that's how much time I had to prepare. And I had lots of ideas to make this come together. And in the end, it was just such a wonderful homecoming for many, that many who played in the 60s were there. And we had three events. Friday night was, we were in an auditorium, and it was a story night. And it was, Scott Stokely spoke about growing up at Oak Grove. Philo spoke. He came out. He was, this is where he started, right? George Sappenfield spoke as a godfather of disc golf, and giving Ed the nudge to say, hey, pay attention. This could happen. I spoke about the Los Angeles Frisbee Club starting at Oak Grove and how that was my first tournament. And of course, Stork wrapped it up. And something that Stork didn't say that night, but he has said before, if you don't think that Frisbee keeps you young, go to your high school reunions. Look around. Sure enough, my 50th is coming up. And I remember going to my 40th, and you were saying, how do people, like now, everybody knows. Well, at this time, I had some friends whose husbands were saying, Tita's going to be there. Would you get her autograph? These are my classmates, right? So I knew ahead of time to give them some Hall of Fame little minis. But it's true. If you don't get old because you stop playing Frisbee. You don't stop playing Frisbee because you get old. You get old because you stop playing Frisbee or disc golf or insert whatever. Okay, so that was Friday night. And it was full. We thought, we were hoping, Stark was like, do you think we'll get like 20, 25 people? We had like 150 people that night. Then we had the throwback tournament. Mark Horn, I encouraged Mark Horn to put up together a throwback where Innova let us borrow just the poles without the cage and put them strategically around Oak Grove, because not all the original holes are there. And everybody got a 110 disc to play with and a mini. That's it. And
wow.
Yes. And to get, again, severe hyzer, it was not easy for some of the pros. Jennifer Allen
came to mind immediately.
And Shell Newland is fine, no problem. Okay.
Yep.
And that raised money for the World Disc Golf Hall of Fame.
Awesome.
On Sunday, we played a game called Silver Medal. And you had 4 on your team, right, and you took the second best silver medal, the second best throw. So meanwhile, I was able to put Bill Nye on the same card with John Cohn, who was Bill Nye's coach, ultimate coach in 1972. Wow. And together with Al Bonapane, the Bonapane grip. Okay. Yeah. So 3 of them plus Jen Allen. Wow. And who, if you put Al Bonapane and Jen Allen side by side on that reach back, he swears she stole his form. And to have them play, and then they couldn't use Jennifer's throws, and she was just like parking them. Sorry, so we got to do that. And then there was a 4th game, but it was only close. It was limited because Stork can't play with a lot of people. He's immune compromised. It's called Open Marriage.
Okay. So you guys out in California, what are you doing?
Oh my gosh! Then we played AC Ducey, and we played Shoulda Coulda. These are all Stark's games,
of course.
But open marriages, say it's the 3 of us plus Valerie, and say Terry, you and I are partners, and Nate and Valerie are partners, and you and I, Terry, birdie a hole. We get a point each, but then we have to break up, and now I'm partners with Val, and now you are partners. So a few of us got to play at that, and there was T-shirts for that.
Wow.
And Gary Hedrick was there.
Okay.
And so was Farina Hedrick. And Farina Hedrick and Gary Hedrick, DGA gave the course a basket, but not just any basket, a gold basket. Since then, the city of Pasadena, we had to go through their policy so that we could put it in. It is a DGA basket. We have all disc catchers, but one DGA. And it has the silhouette it has the image of Ed Hedrick, and it talks about how he was an inventor, and it gives the facts about Ed. And so that's going to be installed at the practice hole at Oak Grove. So it was it was just a really, really great weekend because the silver medal raised money for Throw Pink and for You Play.
Mm.
And the 4 kids that won the silver medal were given these ceramic trophies. And before they were shown here's what you're going to win. And the artist was able to hand it to them so that the artist gets to the pride that he had in making them. So it was just a beautiful event, and the weather was gorgeous. And people asked me how I got that great weather, and I said, simple, I sold stork soul.
he probably thought that was still a good deal to be blessed with the weather for such an occasion. Along those lines, I quickly have to say, we talked about regret earlier. I knew of it going on. I had already been contracted to cover a tournament I covered for many years over in Florida, literally the opposite side of the country. It was on the same weekend, and I was already committed to being there. And if I've said this to many people, that might be one of my regrets in these last few years of not foregoing the tournament coverage over in Florida. No disrespect to them, but to be at the Jubilee, I feel like would have been an even more enriching weekend for me. So I deeply regret that I wasn't there for it. But seeing the pictures, the stories, a lot of what you said has made it through, the socials in one way or another. And it looked incredible. Yes. So thank you for everything you did to make it all happen.
Thank you. We were given the 50th medallion for those of us who oops, sorry.
Oh, that was awesome.
You're the first to ever do that. How fitting. Yes. That's never happened on the show. We didn't know that happened.
Neither did I. That was amazing.
Another one. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
So to have Doug Bierkus and the PDGA staff meeting the players on the West Coast,
right, that
was really important to me. To have all of that, to make the connections, to honor Ed Hedrick, to honor the early players, honor the course. We are only limited by the size. Well, because Los Angeles does not have a lot of land, or Los Angeles County, and yet we have this course that the Oak Grove Disc Golf Club has really turned around. It was because of them and all the volunteers that the Jubilee was just so successful. But I have good news for you, because I already have a couple that's going to put on the next Jubilee in 25 years, and Ava, my number buddy, 83,000.
Yep. Yeah, I know Ava.
Already committed to, the 150 years.
Oh, wow.
Yes,
all right.
I love that.
Well, I got to mark my calendar right after I mark down these tournaments for the eclipses. I got to mark my calendar 25 years from now, and maybe even somehow 50 possibly.
Yeah.
I would love to be at both of those.
So how do we get the word out for people for players in Australia or New Zealand to put a tournament so that we could go to that eclipse? And
we know some people. Simon Feasey, of course, comes to mind, and we know lots of great Australians as well. It sounds like we're gonna have to plant that seed ASAP.
Well, so I think it's a disgrace that you call yourself the disc golf guy, Terry, and you weren't at the Jubilee.
Trust me.
We're gonna just start.
I toss and turn at night still. Down. I know. Somebody take my sign down. This is. I agree. I disappointed myself.
First of all, congratulations on that event. I mean, it just sounded incredible. I have had the pleasure of playing at Oak Grove several times, playing the tournament there, and I just got to say, before I ask my final question to you, Tita, I really urge people to make some courses a part of some of their travel. And I think Oak Grove is one of those. And don't go there with your UDisc app and judge the tee pads, although they've put some incredible work in and all that. You're going to be a part of history, right? This is 50 years old. It was there before baskets were invented. Baskets were then added, and it's been kept going by so many people and so many volunteers. You, as a person playing, a disc golfer, you have to recognize how special it is that something that 50 years later is still standing and is better than when it started, right? I mean, if you just put something down and 50 years later, Mother Nature's going to take it and you won't even know it's there. I mean, there's only a few things that would last that long. And I think that it's really amazing that my home course, De La Viega, is one of those as well. Yeah. Go there and be a part of something that has been a part of history for so long. So congratulations on all that, Tita. And my final question to you, and I'll give you a little bit of praise and love. I said it earlier. I've been in awe this entire conversation. Your personality, you, if in the encyclopedia they had a picture of the glass half full, you're the glass half double full. You seem to find the positive in everything. There's been so many things I've taken away that I see in myself from what you've said. I'm very proud of that. And I think a lot of people could look at you in such a way to say, oh, she was a female pioneer of disc golf, or a Hispanic, Mexican, immigrant, all of these things but to me, you're just a pioneer. You're not any of those things. You're just a pioneer. And the question I have for you is, what's the secret to just not giving up and continuing on, and 50 years later finding a reason to find that glass half full? If you were to give somebody some advice, go ahead, just give it to me. What is that advice to continue on and keep finding a reason to keep filling that glass up?
Would you like to know the secret to happiness?
I would.
Be grateful. And I do my husband and I go by this book. It's called The Four Agreements. And one is be impeccable with your word. The second is don't take anything personally. The third is don't make assumptions. And the last is do your best.
I'm trying to take just those four things in to see. I've failed many times at those four things, but I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate you, Tita. I think you and I have crossed paths several times in life, but I've never sat down and talked with you for hey. Yeah, and we've just never had the opportunity to speak this way. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate you trusting Terry and I to help get your story out. And one of the reasons we're doing this is because we're so close to the beginning of our game, but it's so different than what it was 50 years ago. And I really want to get those stories out, just like you had story time at the Jubilee on Friday. These stories need to be out there for people to hear, and I think it helps us understand where we came from. So thank you, Tita.
Oh, thank you very, very much, because all of this is archived for the future. It still is amazing to me how the interest nowadays is not in the discs we used to throw. Why aren't people collecting the discs that we used to throw? They're limited. They're fragile. This is the history. But for some reason, I mean, some of us still keep those discs around because that's where we started. But it's amazing to me how disc golf has evolved. Not only, if you just look at the disc alone, players and how their mindset, how they prepare, the courses, the organizational different entities that there are. So there's so much, and we're still such a young sport that you're brilliant in getting all of this information and getting it from people that were there from the beginning. So I really appreciate it, and you honor me greatly. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tita.
Terry, you go ahead. I know you got something else to say. I want to hear from you before we let Tita go.
No, I would just echo, obviously what you had said, Nate, and it has been so good to, you and I spoke a couple of years ago when you were in Wisconsin specifically. I remember that time when you were here for the U.S. Women's. I feel like you had just or very recent to that had retired, and we saw you with at least nationally, I saw you as more of a resurgence in being everywhere. And so just your presence, and then seeing you at the Phoenix Ladies Open and at other tournaments, women's only tournaments, which we talked about earlier, just so crucial to the development of the women's game and supporting women out there. And as Nate said, glass half full, you're always such a joy and a treat to be around, and so kind and compassionate. And that clearly is showing through with the people that want to show up and support you and the efforts. And just you are the company you keep. And when you've been around so many of these other incredible humans, every time I've seen you, I think how blessed both you and they are that you guys all keep that company. So we're honored to have you here today, and thank you for sharing everything, dating all the way back to your early days and then where we're at present day and everything in between. And looking forward to the next time I see you. I'm sure we'll be both out there promoting disc golf in some way or another. Hopefully it's in another country. Hopefully it's even partially in the dark at some point, maybe during an eclipse. I don't know, but I know I'm up for adventure, and I know you're more than up for adventure. So hopefully our paths will cross many more times. So
Hopefully.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tita. Have a wonderful evening.
Or
Yes. Well,
Yeah, there you go.
I love that.
Wait, mine doesn't do it.
No. You
it's
gotta,
MacBook Air.
you gotta. Terry's been thinking about going Mac.
No, I'm not. Even that's cute. No, I'm still not thinking about it. But thank you.
Thanks,
That was
Tita.
awesome.
Appreciate you.
See ya.
Hey, you guys.
Bye. Bye. Man.
Come on. First women's guest that we've had. And I mean, there's so much history clearly that she provided to us. And then the overarching enthusiasm, the excitement, the trials and tribulations, but yet how she counters those on a daily basis. And then just overall to our sport to continue to push it forward however she knows best. And it's so infectious when you're around her. There's just like this. It's like a virtual hug just being around her. She's just absolutely incredible. So very, very cool to hear so much more of her story.
Dude, I mean, her story is insane. That, as I was just saying to her, as a person, she is a 50 out of 10. I mean, I don't think I've met very many people like her in our sport, but also just in general. We when we were talking to Stork, I felt the same way, but in a different way. Right. I don't know. I feel like Tita, with some of those things that do define her in a way, being an immigrant and being a woman, they gave her a different perspective on a lot of these things. And, it's not like the first hour we're talking about how she was grinding it out and trying to win and be the best. And we didn't hear any of that. We just heard, I wanted to have good time. I wanted to do my best and play the sport. She fell in love with it. And then eventually, 50 years, dude. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah. And to know that she's so actively involved and part of the recollection of the sport, but now and therefore the preservation of the sport. Once I can spit that word out, the preservation of it, but then the continued involvement and outreach of it today. So she's spanning all of it. The past, the present, the future. She's spanning all of those things, and and I find it very interesting. One of my big takeaways is the uniqueness even within her personal life and marriage of having a husband who doesn't play, obviously fully supports. One question I would have had for her was, does he ever talk aerodynamics about the disc?
Right,
Has he ever handed over a schematic and said, hey, when you see your buddy Dave tomorrow at the course, maybe you should design a rim like this. But the way that she has stayed true and has found her happiness. Obviously, they have their shared commonalities, but at the same time, she goes out and plays disc golf with the guys and the girls and everyone else, and has kept her own identity and all of that, based on the love of the Frisbee and the love of flight and the love of the disc golf and Frisbee community. I think it's incredible. And there's something to be said about that.
And still trying to get better. I mean, still trying. Right. It shocks me. I mean, maybe it shouldn't, but it does when I hear older players talk about like Sharon. I'll be hanging out with Sharon and she's like, God, I was just out in the back trying to putt. I'm like, you've been playing for 43 years. Like, what else can you try? Haven't you tried it?
Yeah, you still looking for your power pocket? Like, what?
I mean, it blows my mind, but I think it goes to show you, and she said it right there at the end, that the secret is gratitude. The secret is gratitude. Like, to be gifted something that you care about for 50 years. Now, a lot of people watching this, they're not going to be 50 years old. And even if they are, I want you to think about, what have you liked for 50 years? Now, with Tita, she's ebbed and flowed. And as she explained, she was in college and, she became a teacher. And I'm sure there was times when Tita just wasn't around the sport.
Sure.
In the way that she is now, of course. But I mean, just the gratitude to have something like that for 50 years is incredible.
Yeah, I very much understand what she's saying. I hear a lot of people always say, to probably you and me, but I hear people say, "Oh, you're so lucky," and I say, "What do you mean?" And they're, "Well, you're so lucky you found something that you love, that you're so passionate about." And I guess I've never taken it as lucky that I found it. It's just been so much of who I am and what I've done as with you for so many years. But it is kind of funny to pull back the curtain and realize other people don't necessarily have a passion or a thing that they've been so wrapped up in. And so, yeah, I do feel fortunate. I feel fortunate that it's granted us all these experiences and friends and people and community and travels and everything else that goes along with it. So
no doubt.
And we're lucky to be here, and we're lucky to have people that want to listen in on all the stories. And I think with that, do we have another podcast in the books? Is it wrapped up? Is that just about it?
We do, man. And that was a good one. Just absolutely fantastic. I'm grateful for you, disc golf guy, even though you missed the Jubilee. I missed the Jubilee as well. So, yeah, I know I'm a total piece.
I wasn't even going to grill you.
It was the same weekend as what, the Florida women?
It was the same weekend as the Chainhawk Open, the first weekend in December.
Oh, okay.
And she had told me about it at one point. I knew she did. Of course, she was promoting it, and I was very excited about it. And to be honest with you, I didn't know what kind of turnout there would be. Not that made my decision. Again, I was already locked in, but I was even mildly skeptical. I didn't know maybe only 12 people would show up. I had no idea. And so to hear that it was the true reunion, that there was some filming of it, that it was successful, that you had younger players and older players. I mean, I've genuinely said it. It might be one of the few regrets that I have in the last few years is that I didn't find a way there for it to even just to hit record on all of it, right?
Exactly. Yep.
I mean, being there would have been, the payoff, but recording it to have that in the archive. But, like I said, I'll be there when Ava Meyer is who she was talking about, PDGA 83,000. Ava's a bright young star out of Kansas and takes the game so very seriously, and her parents support her. She's, probably only 16, 18, 20 right now, but has been around the game for many years, and very fitting that she's the MC and the coordinator for 25 and 50 years from now. So I'll be sure to make those.
I love it. Yeah, you're going to be there at the 25 for sure.
And the 50. Shut up.
We're going to need some peptide therapies or something to get us to the 50 years from now, T-Dog.
But I'll be 90. I'll be 97. I'll be there.
If we're around, I'll show up too.
Yeah,
we'll do another pod.
Like 90. Yeah.
I'll be
right,
young.
Everyone.
I'll be young.
That is the Out of Production podcast with Nate Doss and myself, Terry Miller. That was Tita Ugalde. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys at the next one.